Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed ji, ayanu, goedemorgen.
Becheragele, ni hao, Chudashube, Washmale, Ohio, Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Hola, Boyor, Privyet, Kaifahal, Hale Shumachatore, Ahlan Wasalan, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabi up, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning, alongside the very fantastic, the very superb, the very dedicated, the very hardworking Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you so much for asking, and this feels like a standard answer now, I know. But what about you? And by the way, so you called me hardworking, I really have to mention over here, it's sort of the contagious energy that we have within our team as well. And you always being ready for work, I mean, never missing a day as well, that sort of inspires me. So, well, thank you.
Wow, it's wonderful, and it's so good to hear such a compliment early in the morning as well, ladies and gentlemen. So wherever you may probably be, please make sure that you guys are actually going to compliment each other today, because I think it can do wonders for other people, people who were actually feeling down, people who were feeling sad, people who didn't actually feel like going to work. I think there's only one thing which can make them go to work, and that is probably your father running after you with a chappal in his hand, or probably your mother cursing you and abusing you and saying, "Tu te kaam te janda hi nahi." But yeah, either way, I think, ladies and gentlemen, that everybody, we believe that everybody out there is doing perfectly fine, and that you guys are looking after yourselves. But there's this one good thing which I felt today, and that was that as soon as I woke up and I was about to go and change my clothes for the show, I could feel as if, you know, the weather's changing. You know, we're going towards the colder side now.
I hope so.
Yeah, this is one of those feelings which I had today, that I was like, thank God, yaar, Lamia, you know, so thank God for whatever seasons we have passed, thank God, but for whatever season we're going to witness now, thank God for giving us the opportunity to live within that.
Absolutely, Alhamdulillah though. And I absolutely love winter, Shahzad, and the energy in winter as well. Although some people do seem to find it a little gloomy and a little probably lethargic as well, but not for me. Yeah.
Not for me as well, because, you know, in winters you can wear whatever you want to wear. You know, I love wearing jackets, you know, jeans and probably high boots and whatnot. So you have a lot of options, you know, when it's winters. But in summers, ladies and gentlemen, eventually, you know, there comes a day where you actually have to wear a suit once again. So I think one of those days are not the finest ones, but then yes, obviously we one way or the other manage to somehow leave the coats at home and then just come back in bare shirts. That's what it is.
Right.
What about you? Do you like to dress up in winters or summers?
I absolutely love doing that. Actually, you know, the wardrobe in summer is really cute, actually. We really have to agree with that, because there are a lot of other options. But I don't mind. I mean, in winter, you can literally wear 5 or 6 things and no one will know what you're wearing under that one perfect sweater. So I think it's a good thing, though.
No, but there's this one thing which I've been thinking about, and that is that, ladies and gentlemen, so usually what happens is that, you know, we are actually always told by our seniors that, you know, you're actually supposed to wear like formal dresses, not informal, you know, no joggers, no jeans and whatnot. But, you know, there comes a day in between where she's actually wearing a jean, but she's pulling it off in such a way because she's wearing a frock upon it as well. And it's superb. And as soon as I think about wearing a jean, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to wear a jean, I'll actually have to wear a t-shirt alongside it. I'm like, okay, drop the idea, coming back to dress pants and dress shirts, let's do this. But yeah, it feels great, you know, whenever you're dressed up. I think you kind of have a great day as well.
Absolutely, and I do think that men's clothing is really boring. I mean, you have really fewer options to choose from, is what I mean, right?
Probably. We only have options. I think we only have colors to choose from. We do not have options to choose from.
And that too only a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Obviously. So, I mean, that's
minimalist.
A little...
Yes.
Yeah, minimalist is a good thing. But before we do move on, Shahzad, to what we are talking about in terms of, you know, how people are getting back to their jobs and schools, universities, whatnot, I think we have to take this moment to recall or actually commemorate one of the greatest heroes of Pakistan. Though, you know, I mean, when we talk about Nishan-e-Haider, there are only a few recipients of it. And Rashid Manhas, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be one of them as well. I think growing up, Shahzad, when, I mean, again, belonging to the military background, and you belonging to the bureaucratic background, we had been watching movies of him, you know, to get inspired, to feel patriotic as well and nationalistic too. So I think hats off to his courage, his valor, and today is the day that we commemorate his hard work as well.
Exactly, and ladies and gentlemen, he's one of those examples we have for us where we see that, you know, that somebody's actually sacrificed his life for the motherland, and I think he lived up to the standard of Pakistan Air Force as well. And this is one thing that we have, everybody needs to have within themselves as well. You know, first of all, patriotism, and then second, will to actually do whatever the country needs from you as well. But then at the same time, now, ladies and gentlemen, I am actually going to relate it with the situation today we have at hand. Yes, obviously, we do have people who are so dedicated, people who really do not prioritize anything other than their country, I think is something which we need to appreciate. But then at the same time, you know, we are surrounded by people from different walks of life. Then there are people who during the COVID times were saying, oh, you know, we just need to get back to work. You know, I just cannot sit home. I've been telling this to my mother, or probably I've been telling this to my wife, or my wife just keeps on, you know, talking to me. I just want some space. Probably I will step out, you know, things will work out for me as well. So for all of those people who were saying all of these things, and since 10th of August when the offices actually resumed, now everybody's like, oh, you know, I need to go for a vacation, I need to go here, I need to go here. So one way or the other, what I'm realizing is that not majority of the people over here in Pakistan are hard workers or probably willing to work. What's the problem? I think this is something which we really need to discuss. But post-COVID, when we see things, what happens is that for all of those 4 months which we have spent working, even for me, it was very interesting, you know, because I did a few shows while sitting on my bed and nobody actually realized that it was my bed. So I was doing these shows for PTV Sports, which is Game On Air, Dr. Noman's show, and I would record it on Zoom and I would sit on my bed and just record it, and it was so much fun.
Right.
So as soon as they told me that you actually have to come to the studio now, I was like, oh my God, man, who's going to go to the studio, dress up and do everything?
You know, you're one of those people actually, and actually there are hundreds and millions of them on the internet because it was more than 4 months that we were all quarantined, right?
Yeah.
And people were going crazy. I mean, people were literally saying that we regret the time we wanted vacations because this is such a long vacation we wanted to end.
Exactly.
And the day everything resumed and everything opened, there were tweets of, hey, I don't want to go back to work. I miss quarantine. I mean, insan kabhi khush nahi ho sakta is the thing I want to say.
Exactly. And, you know, I've got another incident to correlate with this as well, because every year I thought that, you know, I'll actually go and have a Euro trip. And this year around, I couldn't go because of COVID, but all the other years, I didn't have the money. So, yeah, so it's one way or the other, I think that's what we're doing. But then, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, how are we going to get back to work? How are we going to get them motivated? How are actually things post-COVID, you know, when we talk about work, how to create space for more positivity, for more work, for development. Let's talk about all of these things. I think it's going to be a fun conversation because we happen to have 2 HR experts over here in the studios, and not just that, one of them, one of our guests actually happens to be a business consultant as well. So he might probably know that, you know, what the problem is and whether people are willing to work or not, or COVID has actually made us all lazy. Well, not us, because we are on television. We've been on television.
We try.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, first up, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by Ms. Nazia Hamid Qureshi, who happens to be the HR expert. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum assalam. Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. Not just that, alongside Ms. Nazia, ladies and gentlemen, we happen to have been joined by a business consultant. His name is Ibrahim Ahmed, a very cute gentleman. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. How do you feel post-COVID? Do you feel like working, giving interviews?
Yes, I feel like doing it, and then that's more like my second home. I know I've been coming here a lot, so I was waiting for this time so I can join you guys.
Oh.
Wow, wonderful. And what good use of words as well, ladies and gentlemen. You know, these are the words when the host actually realizes, okay, you know, since he said so many good things, it's better that I shouldn't say anything bad to him as well. Oha. But we don't say that anyways. But last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky once again. One more time, we've actually been joined by an HR expert. She's none other than Ms. Shazra Sadmia. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum assalam. Good morning. How are you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. So before I ask, you know, how are things post-COVID, there's one simple question which I wanted to ask from the HR experts, and that is, so whatever office you're working in right now, is it working in full strength, or are you still struggling to call your employees and tell them that, hey, you know what, COVID's over, you know, probably we're making sure that we're going to take control and, you know, follow all the SOPs. Why don't you show up at work? How many people are missing on daily basis?
So fortunately, where I'm working, the energy is quite phenomenal compared to other organizations. Maybe because I work at a healthcare facility, so the motivation and morale has to be boosted on every day, sometime hourly basis.
Yep.
So we don't really face that kind of a challenge, but still there is some kind of attitude which needs to be fixed and aligned, specifically with regards to the COVID break. You know, people have gone to the modes where they were not too outgoing and all that stuff, which has put them behind in their goal and focus orientation timeline. So that's where we keep on tapping, and we make sure that every day the energy stays the same. But yes, because we are human beings and we have come out of this pandemic like this, and then we do face some emotional and other challenges while we are performing our duties. But how do we address it generally is that little pep talks and few little things which we do on daily basis, that we get together casually and talk and laugh it out and then just start back with the work.
Right.
So that's kind of working. But still, I feel lucky because being HR head, I get to deal with all kind of frustration, depression,
all kinds of mentalities.
And, exactly. So, but still,
but also
I think it's not too bad.
Also, being the HR head, you have to have a lot of patience to deal
Absolutely.
with all. Right?
Tell me about it. Yes, actually, people ask me, how do you maintain such kind of behavior while something is being shared on that scale, or maybe something that should not have been shared? But that's my job, and not only the job, because I feel you have to be in a job if you love it, or if it's part of you. If it's not part of you, you can't really do it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I cannot agree more as well, because ladies and gentlemen, so far what I've realized in my life is that no matter how nice you are and how capable you are, but if you're working for the HR department, nobody's going to like you. That's one thing which I've noticed in my life. And I don't know whether it's true or not, but yes, a lot of times, because these are the people who are actually going to bring out the ACRs of the employees and be like,
they
you know
will
what,
be
you're not
firing
working. And then you know what, actually nobody can come over to an HR person and be like, hey, you know what, you're not doing your work. Because HR always looks busy, man. You don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something.
We do a lot of work.
Shazra, do you agree?
So I'll move on to Shazra now. So Shazra, what kind of challenges are posed to you post-COVID when we talk about getting back to work?
Okay, so basically, I'm looking after L&D, learning and development.
Okay.
So it's quite interesting that from the start, it was my aim, to take the consent of our employees and make the schedule accordingly, that what days are feasible for them to work from home, and on what days they are easy, they can leave their kids, since childcare facilities are not open yet.
Right.
So I think that one thing made us engage our employees, and apart from that,
is there something up there? Yeah, go ahead,
no.
please.
Okay. So apart from that, just like ma'am mentioned, that in the start, I organized a meditation session and yoga sessions just to boost the morale of our employees, because I observed that they were very low on energies, and because of this COVID stress, they were not working on their full capacity. So just to boost up their morale, so we arrange such type of sessions so that they can cope up with the situation and they can.
How long have you guys been back to the office?
I think we were never 100% off. Yeah, because we were going on and off to the office.
Right.
But we were obviously working from home, of course. And I think when you are working from home, you are, it's not a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
It's more than.
It is definitely more than 9 to
24 hours.
Only if you cannot put your foot down, ladies and gentlemen, you actually have to put your foot down at times. Sir, whatever it may probably be, it's 9 to 5 job, and I get paid for a 9 to 5 job. So please make sure that you do not kind of utilize my experiences more than that. But very quickly, coming back to you, now we'll obviously talk about how people are responding and whatnot. But there's this amazing saying which I shared on my Facebook yesterday as well, and it says, in between goals, there's a thing called life. We have to live it and enjoy it as well. What do you have to say about it? In between goals, we got this period, right? 4 months, where we couldn't go anywhere. All of this time, people have been saying, especially fathers have been saying that, I've been working, I do not get much time, so I cannot spare it for my family. Everybody had so much time. Do you think that they've utilized it to their best?
No, to be honest. And not because they did not want to, but they had no options. Like, it was not just the offices that were closed, but all the social places that were closed. So, when I talk about vacations, when I talk about hangouts, what do? I'm like, okay, I'll go and enjoy time with my friends. But now where will I go in the pandemic, because everything was so close, and the tourist spots and the other eating outlets and all these things. So I think and the initial first month of this pandemic took its toll on everyone. Emotionally, physically, the mental well-being was severely challenged at that time. I personally know a lot of people who got diagnosed with diabetes later because they took so much stress. in the first month, right?
Because of the pandemic only.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, if you recall the first 15 days of the pandemic or of the lockdown, you would realize that, I mean, even you were so careful about every little thing. Now we have kind of accepted it. Okay,
Yeah.
the disease is here to stay. A, B, the worst part was, especially for the corporates, the companies did not, especially in Pakistan, they never had any such policy of work from home other than the freelancers or IT companies, right? So for us, it was a technological challenge as well. Engaging employees remotely, A, and then those employees who were not techie, because they were used to of going and logging on their computer systems instead of using laptops, and then, and they did not have to operate any project management software or anything like that. But now if I'm working from home, if you are my boss, so you have to track my progress, so so I have to log in at somewhere, and I may not be familiar with that software. Same goes for the teachers, for example. They were not aware of Zoom or online learning, and they had to take classes. I mean, there were so many pictures, if you have seen on the internet, where teachers were using those bricks as a tripod stand, iron stand, and bricks, combination of that for
I've been using a biscuit jar.
Yeah. so the point being, so I mean, that is innovation at your part, but for them it was because they were not aware of all these things. So all of it took a lot of toll on us, right? And it definitely affected our performance.
Right.
So first month gone. Later on, for the rest of the 3 months, I think we all were at least we have normalized that, okay, this is the way to go, and at least for few months we have to adopt by this. So what happened was, we were like very comfortable. So even if I am working from home, so a lot of people did not have a dedicated office space or a corner at in their homes, right? So they'll get up even in their pajamas or casual clothes. They would just be sitting and working on the laptop, sitting on the couch, sometimes in the bed, like you said in your introduction as well, that you did a show. So all of a sudden, when they had to come back to those office chairs with those tables, so that's a very uncomfortable position,
it's
at
like
least for them.
getting back to school after summer vacation.
Absolutely. So I think it's time for them to realize, okay, they are grown up adults. A, B, there is some ownership of them towards the company.
Of course.
Because a lot of companies took the hit and they did not fire employees. I mean, we did hear a lot of stories about economic conditions in Pakistan, but thankfully a lot of big companies did retain their employees. IT companies did retain their employees, so they need to be thankful. And if the companies have taken care of them in those times, it's time for them to pay it back through their extra efforts.
Exactly.
Most definitely, I do agree with you. And I definitely want to talk about, from both of you being the HR consultants as well, talk to you about how letting go, of the employees, was it hard for people? If you guys were not doing it, of course, other people were doing it. Was it a hard task, number one? Now that everything is reopening and coming back to the normal, I want to say, are they sort of open to re-employing those people or anyone else as well? Before that as well, I want you to answer, when you talk about this being the new normal, of course, modern problems require modern solutions, and this is what happened, right? Everything got online. Every company was on the cloud now. But you think this can be like sort of normal for the future as well? You really not necessarily have to go to your workspace to perform. I mean, even if you take a sick leave, you can be like, hey, I'm going to perform XYZ hours from home. You're going to get your work, but I will be performing from home now that we're used to it. Do you think that can be the new normal?
To be honest, as a business consultant, I think it should become normal.
Right.
But with some policies in place, obviously. For example, if you go for a deliverable based job as compared to fixed working hours. So for example, you tell me that, okay, Ibrahim, these are your fixed deliverables for the week, right, or for the day. Instead of you have to come to at office from 9 to 5, you see, even if I'm coming to office from 9 to 5, I'm actually working for 3 to 4 hours.
Right.
Rest of the time I'm either having smoke or I'm having casual chats with my friends, and so if you go for this, and you can have a blend of 50-50. So 50% of your days are work from home, deliverable based, while 50% is in office. So what it does to the companies is, since they have paid all the salaries, they had an overhead. So with this flexible working hour, a lot of their running operational cost would be reduced.
Absolutely.
Right? They don't have to pay for the utility bills, for the rents and office space, office boys, so all these things. So they can make up for their losses from that perspective as using this thing as well. So I think if you have a deliverable based work, A, B, let's just say you are asked to come to office for 3 days and you work from home for 3 days in a week. I mean, so combination of these policies can be really effective because world has now tested it. Right?
Yes, of course.
In a startup world, we say it's a prototype. So they have had a prototype right now.
For at least 4 months we've had that,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I think we're good to actually put it in place as well. And now coming to you guys, first of all, tell me if you had to let go of any of your employees. If not, that's all right. But if you ever had to do it, I mean, having that kind of job where it's not your decision, but you just have to inform the other person that this decision has been taken against you, how does it feel and how is the reaction often? Let's begin with you.
Yeah, so it happened just yesterday.
Oh no.
And it just gives you that kind of pressure that takes your energy out
Right.
instantly,
Yeah.
good energy. But it's the bad and the most tough part of the job. We try to do it, at least me and my team, that we try to console and try to listen to the person who's sitting right opposite, because sometimes only if you're listening to them, half the frustration really goes
That's
away.
true. That's true.
Like that's the max we can do. There are situations where the termination or firing is on legit basis, where you don't really have that time that you need to listen to them also.
Right.
But still we try and maximize our goodness and try to create that kind of ambience and atmosphere that if we have to let go of someone, it has to be on good notes, which never happens, by the way.
Of course. I mean, it's sort of an emotional thing as well.
It is. And also coming back to the point before, with this pandemic and otherwise, every time when companies are challenged with meeting their targets and their revenues are cut down, they go for restructuring. And the first thing that they do to restructure is eliminate the human resource, cutting down the cost. And that had kind of been the practice overseas ever since this pandemic started. On the massive scale, there have been lots of unemployments, job losses, but still, according to our recent survey and talking to people around in the industry, there have been new opportunities which has led to new kind of jobs. Right. So I think it's also important to look at that kind of positive factor which is there, and not only focus on what happened and why it happened, but yeah, it's the most difficult thing to tell someone. Right. Yeah.
Shazra, do you agree with this?
And this news, ladies and gentlemen, always comes from the HR department as well.
It has
which
to.
is why I said in the beginning that a lot of people do not like the department itself. It's not about the people, but the department.
Of course.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that, and I think it's very challenging for the person who is, taking an exit interview maybe. So the maximum what we can do is lend them an ear to, to listen their concerns and to just kick in the positivity. We can, tell them maybe about the opportunities or maybe about their strengths that, maybe
that this can be your future.
Maybe this place was not meant for you and you will get a better job and things like that. That's the max that we can do.
It's like a doctor coming out of a theater and actually letting you know that, your loved one has actually, God forbid, passed away or died as well. I think that's how the news comes across as well. Because the doctor even abruptly cannot say, hey, you know what, this was an accident and it happened. Say they were gradually, or you were late, you weren't in time, and then they kind of let it go.
Yeah, so there's a very classical movie, Up in the Air. I mean, if you have seen that.
Yeah.
So they hired third party. So they hired third party people to come and fire people in their organization, which is a very lousy sport to be in, to be honest.
For real?
Why you need someone else to come and fire your employees, right? So I, as a consultant, I follow Simon Sinek a lot. One of my favorite and one of the world's best HR people, and on leadership especially. He says whenever there's an issue, there's a financial crisis or any crisis at your home, you never abandon your kids.
Obviously.
You can't say, okay, we can't afford to feed you or we can't afford your education, so you leave the home. Yeah. So if you take care of your employees as a kids or as your siblings, then you protect them like that as well. So why do we let go our employees?
Exactly. And I want to build up on this as well, ladies and gentlemen. And just at the very beginning of the COVID and, when the lockdown was there, smart lockdowns were implemented, I got a call from a lot of people, Shiza.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially from Karachi, who used to work for television, people who were directors, people who were producers. Well, not really producers, but producer in a channel works in a very different capacity as well, obviously dependent on a salary. Cameramen, a lot of people actually started calling me as well, and they were saying that, our job's gone and we actually are looking for work, which was great. And I always wanted to do something for them. And alhamdulillah, I tried and managed to get some work for them as well. But this is one thing which I didn't realize, and for all of those people who worked for 2 decades for for a private company. How can you let go if, you know, for 4 months, you know, there was a halt, or the income generation wasn't as much as it was before? You know, we could have survived over a half salary, or probably something like that as well. You know, how can you let go of your children? Because if you let go of your children eventually will let go of you too as well. This is one thing. But then, you know, I think that there needs to be a union amongst all of these people where they come together and say to the Seth mentality that, hey, you know what, I know that, you know, that these are tough times, we're ready to cooperate, but, you know, sending us home isn't the solution. And now they're obviously going to rehire them as well. So I'm very sorry, and it is very unfortunate for all of those people. You know, their 300 or 400 employees were actually day in, day out earning for them. And eventually, when it was time for the company to look after them, they didn't do it. But at the same time, I would actually like to appreciate the you know, telecom industry as well, because they have done wonderfully well. They made sure that they're not just that they're going to retain their employees, that they're going to have their SaaS programs outside as well. And I think that they really need a big round of applause as well. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen.
But Shahzad, adding on to that, I think that we really have to sort of address the other party as well, where you're saying that, of course, the employers, or rather the company, should not let go of the employees. Yes, I agree with you. But shouldn't we talk about what makes them? I mean, what if they do retain them and maybe they don't have enough resources to look after them? I mean, of course, there are two sides to the coin, right? So let's talk about both of the sides. And what would you do if you were the company? What if you were the boss? What would you do in such a pandemic?
Okay, so continuing with my previous example of kids, which is derived from Simon Sinek, if there is a financial crisis at home, what do? You share the meal, right?
Yeah, we eat dal.
Call a friend, ask for loan.
Ask for loan.
Get
so what
rejected.
I'm saying is, so for example, like Shahzad said, that we need to get rid of that Seth mentality. Okay, that is one challenge, but the other could be, if there are 400 people, for example, and they have worked for you for X number of years, and now there is a challenge and you have to make a call, okay, we probably need to find 20 or 30 people.
Okay.
Why not rest of the 370 people or 270 people
should contribute?
Come on 75% salary, while contribute their 25% of the salary for few months for those 20-30 people, or whatever the number is. You see, that's the total, that's the bond you need to enjoy in the organization. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, organizations don't have that kind of a culture.
True.
I mean, I'm sorry to say this on air, but the problem is, even what is the aspiration of a person to get promoted in an organization? Either the boss leaves or the boss dies, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to work on my skills. I'm just hoping for my boss to leave so I can be promoted, right?
I get it. Yeah,
There's hardly, so when you have this kind of a culture, how can you contribute your shares?
Thank you very much for highlighting this point as well, which, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be a very valid point, not in 100% cases, but probably 99.9% cases. Which is why we're going to move on to the HR experts as well, because they are the people who actually create an environment within the firm, within the office, and they are the ones responsible for everything which is happening. But one way or the other, do you think that people from HR actually are under immense pressure because they are in direct relation with the bosses? And once they say, hey, you know what, I need him out or she out, what can you do?
Right.
So the pressure is always there, pandemic or no pandemic, because you take all that nobody else is willing to take, technically.
Yes.
So that pressure sometimes also needs a break, if you don't align yourself as an HR professional to deal with the pressure and kind of learn how to let go of the pressure and fill it with the positive energy, you won't be able to function for long, right? We sometimes hear things that are not supposed to be, said in the professional environment, like, मैं उसको कह दूँगा, मैं उससे phone करवा दूँगा, or something, like that. It's funny, but it happens.
It's a very typical culture.
Yeah, it's a typical culture. So I think being HR professional, if you don't know how to keep a cool temperament, if you don't know how to really listen to people and be in their shoe,
absolutely,
you cannot be really a good HR. Maybe you're an HR, but not a good HR. So I think being an HR brings a lot of responsibility, and that only is realized and truly, genuinely practiced if you believe in being human resource enabler, capacity builder. Only then you can really do it.
Absolutely.
And also, if I talk about the other thing, like, we have to look at the two sides.
Yeah.
So, letting go of employees, of course, organizations don't really plan so much in advance. They don't see a pandemic and forecast their financials like that.
Of course.
especially like at this one. But now maybe there would be a practice. They would, form a fund where they can, deal with all that kind of pressure in for coming 3 to 4 months, something like that.
Yeah.
There are organizations who have started a fund for people who were working on lower scale, who could not have let go, but still they had some kind of fund to manage their basic expenses.
Okay.
So there have been things which are really great about good organizations
Yes.
as well, alongside firing people or letting go of people. So
Yeah.
there is, mixed kind of culture. But I think with this, people have learned a lot. And I think with their strategies, their business development strategies and everything else, they are kind of incorporating all that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Nazia, I agree with you. I mean, of course, we have to, no one was ready for the pandemic. It's not only for the offices. I mean, talk about the general public, talk about the states, the governments in every single country in the world as well. But now, like you already mentioned, maybe we can be prepared for the worst. Maybe we know what to do if something bad hits, God forbid. But the question is sort of similar for you, Shazra, but I'm going to sort of add on to some things into it as well. I don't know if you've watched the movie Bombshell. It's a true, I mean, it's sort of a rendition, or let's say an adaptation of something that happened at Fox News as well. And then the morning show, it's a series too. So it talks about a culture of misbehaving and harassment at workplaces. And a very important aspect of the entire show and the movie, and a lot of similar content is as well, how the HR department is, complying to the boss and sort of brushing things under the carpet. It is a culture. It does happen all over the world as well. I'm not pointing fingers at you. I'm saying it does happen. So for me, if I was an employee, I wouldn't have that trust in you, maybe that you're the boss's friend. Can I really come to you with this problem? This is what I want to talk about. How do you make sure that you want to be approachable to all the people at your workplace as well? Hold on to that thought, because right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are heading on to a short break. Should we though?
Yeah, let's go, let's go.
And when we come back, Shazra here will answer the question if she is approachable or not. Good morning, stay tuned.
Let's do this.
Of moonless nights. When handed a night bereft of its glittering pendant, I decided to grow my own moon. So the spirit is no more hostage to the hide and seek of a wandering celestial being. That is but a deceptive glimmer of hope, a mirage that lures the wayfarer to lose his way and embark upon a quest for the elusive. I stole the glow from selfless souls, added the void within my being as dark spots, rolled into a concoction.
The nights are never moonless. There is no longing. There is no parting.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you're watching World This Morning alongside the very fantastic, the very fabulous Shiza Hashmi, and my name happens to be Shazad Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, before going towards the break, Shiza actually posed a very decent question to one of our guests. But before moving on to the guest, I think that there's one thing which I wanted to add, and that is that, whenever we talk about work from home, it feels like as if you're in paradise, getting a cup of tea whenever you want. or getting a break whenever you want, or probably making whatever lame excuses you wanted to make, because there would be nobody at your home to check whether you're doing the right thing or not, because there's no HR somewhere around you as well. But right now, before we actually talk about that as well, whether people are now willing to work in offices, because one way or the other, during these times, these testing times of a pandemic, we have seen that domestic violence has gone up. We have seen that, you know, husband and wives have actually been arguing quite a lot. Kids are not very happy because their space is non-existent now, because parents are always usually around, so they cannot do whatever they wanted to do and feel free as well. But before we do that, I think we'll move on to Shiza's question and then come back.
Right, all right. So Shazra, what I wanted to ask was that being an employee, there's a certain kind of idea attached to the HR person that they are in direct relationship or friendship, let's say, with the boss.
Not friendship with the boss.
I don't know
That
how to put
sounds so
it.
different.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry for the choice of wrong words. What I mean to say is probably complying to whatever the boss says, regardless of listening to, I mean, the employees, what you should be doing. That is your job. Is this true, first of all? Should the HR person be approachable for any kind of the employee to come to you and discuss their problems? And in your particular workspace, do you have such an environment?
I'm sorry, I just want you to sound funny.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think yes, HR should be approachable because there are so many concerns in the organization which I think only HR people can address.
For example?
For example, you just mentioned about the harassment.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
That's one, but you said so many. I
Yeah,
need to
there
know
are-
what,
you know-
I need to know what keeps HR busy. You know, I'm sorry, but I need to know this. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
talk
you
about
have
your personal
concerns
example.
about maybe your pay, maybe your promotion, maybe your benefits. So
Yeah.
you
So
can
four
always.
things. Four things. Yeah. That's what keeps an HR person busy.
Why do I get this feeling that you're doing this show for HR of PTV?
No, it's not the HR of
them know
PTV.
We've never met
because,
them.
because I'm very happy with the HR of PTV. That's why I'm not doing it for the HR of
Appraisal,
PTV.
then operations, I
Yeah.
thought maybe.
Yeah, so carry
Go
on.
ahead.
Okay, so I think HR should be, you know, approachable, and in my particular organization, we are. You can we are just an email away, or even you can walk in and you know share your concern. And as for harassment, we have this committee in which the members are not only from HR, they are also from other departments, heads of. In fact, most of the department heads that are heading this committee. So
Right.
you know, anyone from the organization has any concern, they can always walk in and they can show their concern, and the committee will sit on that and they will decide that what's happening.
I think that's a really good thing to have actually unbiased people within the
Exactly.
committee as well. That's brilliant.
It's wonderful. Now I'm going to move on to Mr. Ibrahim, and since he mentioned that you might not be happy with the HR, but obviously, ladies and gentlemen, you find such friendships within HR as well, where there's a person like Mr. Ibrahim, and then their peers like all of you as well. And then what you cannot decide is whether are they being biased, or is it whatever they are saying is just true to the bit. So now this is one thing which I think everybody needs to realize, because when HR sends them a letter and tells them that that your performance has not been up to the mark, rather than thinking that they have not been working very hard, what they think is that okay, there might be something wrong, or I might need to call someone to actually talk to them and get it settled. How do you think people can get to a point where they can realize that okay, it's my fault, I haven't been working, I haven't been performing?
I think it's very simple, provided if you do it in a good way, in a right way, which is you talk about facts. The problem is we often confuse facts with opinions.
Yeah.
So, for example, whatever my opinion is primarily based upon my experience, A, B, the story I'm telling to myself about you or about the other person, right? So, if I come to you and I say, okay, Shehzad, I feel you do this, so I think you're not suitable, versus Shehzad, okay, you did this last week and 15 days ago as well, and I gave you a fair warning and gave you a fair time. Now you don't have a counter, right?
Yeah.
If you have a reason, you can share that, but you can't say, okay, the person is bluffing, or they just fired me because of the personal biasness. Yeah. So the problem is a lot of people, even so sometimes when you have a fact, people base their opinion on the fact and then add so many things to it. So the other person usually picks the other thing, and they're like, okay, so the person said this, which I did not say. Yeah. So the point being, you need to talk about facts. So there's a model that we do. It's a CPR: context, a pattern, and relationship. Context is what happened wrong. Pattern, how many times it has occurred over the past few weeks or months. Relationship, how it's affecting your relationship with the person and with the organization.
Okay.
So when you go and speak to the person and you tell them the context, okay, this is what you have done over the past few weeks, a couple of times, and so the pattern is there a couple of times in the past few weeks, and then the relationship, I think I can't trust you anymore, I think you are not performing well, and so my relationship is being affected by this, and then you say that's my reason for, to let you go. And I think that's your right as well, by the way, because if you're paying someone for something and you're pampering them with the environment, with the resources and whatnot, then I think it's justified to expect some loyalty and some performance from them as well.
Definitely.
So
definitely.
the other problem is a lot of people, the lot of noise that is around you, who sometimes inject false beliefs in you or false opinion in you. Or if the person comes to you and say, okay Shehzad, I heard someone talking about you, and the other person is chilling or having a party, but you is having a pressure cooker in your head.
I know what were they talking about.
What they talking about,
was
right?
it?
Yeah.
Was it something good or
Good,
bad?
yeah. So you need to have some confidence. The people need to have some confidence as well. So even if your HR or your system comes to you with the facts, then you have a counter facts as well. Okay, despite all these things, these are my numbers, this is my result. Because at the end of the day, number is the name of the game.
Exactly.
So if your numbers are
We
right,
tried that as well.
yeah, so in the performance in terms of the business you have done, in terms of the JD responsibilities you have performed, I think you are good to go.
Wow.
That was actually a great answer as well, but towards the end, very important something that we need to talk about. You know how we do all realize, and we have come to the agreement that a lot of people have been let go, and this happens to be a major contributing factor to freelancing and entrepreneurship culture increasing tenfolds in the quarantine, or I want to say in the during this pandemic time as well. So each one of you, do you think this is going to prevail, working for your own self and not actually working for your boss?
Actually, this trend has been there even before.
Yeah, but now I'm saying
the realization, exactly, the realization is even more intense, that people want to depend on what they can do to sustain a good life.
Absolutely.
And this will definitely prevail. And as I said before, this pandemic also has brought out so many opportunities for people who had not thought through, as in business or running their own business. And I think it's very important for people who are learning or starting to, kind of get the idea of starting their own business. Starting low, starting very basic is what you need.
Yes.
That's all. If you think that you don't have this much or these resources, you can function, you need to let go of that thought immediately.
Right. No one starts big, right?
No, exactly. I think the most basic thing is, because most of the people around who really don't succeed in starting their own things believe that if they don't have X amount of money or X amount of resources, they can't function. Right. So first thing is that you need to learn that whatever you have is your starting point.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's
wonderfully explained as well, but thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation. We're very short on time.
Yeah.
And we definitely wanted to have a bigger conversation.
But we had such a productive conversation.
Yeah, it was a productive conversation, ladies and gentlemen, and we would like to actually have them over our show probably in a matter of, 4 weeks or 5 weeks. And we'll see whether performances have gone up or gone down as well.
Definitely.
But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I can relate, and it's because of the fact that, whenever you're making decisions or you're thinking, there is a moment when insecurities are going to come and grab you as well, but then it is you by the end of the day. Let me be very clear and honest over here that if there's a person who can actually add an iota of performance to whatever the company is doing, they will never let you go.
Of course.
And it does not really matter how ugly you look to them or how ugly they look to you, because if the company actually wants benefit out of you for whatever kind of services you're providing. So for all of those people telling themselves that, hey, you know what, it was a personal reason, it was something like this, it was something like that, I'll be very dead honest over here that I've seen people making such excuses, but I've seen the same people not going to work 4 days a week, showing up one day and then be like, hey, there's no work at all. So you actually have to go, chase the work, do it yourself, and then be like, hey, you know what, I actually deserve a little bit of appreciation, and I think that HR will be prepared to do so for you.
I do agree with you, Shehzad. We really have to sort of put a stop to the VIP culture over here, and every little person feeling like a VIP over here. I mean, you have to start somewhere, right? So ladies and gentlemen, of course, we are going to have these people back. This was a brilliant conversation. But if you do have any questions or any feedback or any comments regarding how your life was during the pandemic in terms of your work, do write to us to let us know on our Facebook page with the name of...
On our Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen, the name happens to be World This Morning, but there's one doubt which we have, and that is that, we cannot actually access our Facebook page. I think that my ID was hacked because somebody has been sharing, some different statuses from my wall. So I'll actually have to look into it. But yes, meanwhile, it is World This Morning.
Yes, absolutely. On Twitter.
On Twitter, it's World This Morning without a G. So it's better that you actually contact us on Twitter.
On Twitter or either YouTube.
Yes.
Which is with the name of?
Which is with the name of PTB World, and you look for the most viewed show, which is World This Morning. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, and the repeat of this show you can catch at
5 past midnight. Ladies and gentlemen, until the next time, please make sure that you work with all your heart and make sure that you do not remind yourself of all the excuses you have seen other people make. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.